What is YouTube doing? I have no idea what YouTube's doing. It told me to set a goal, and then y'all got these new crayons out there. I don't know what's going on. Heidi, did you mean to send $2? That's the $1,000,000 question. Was that an accident? I want to know, first of all. So, Heidi, if you're watching me right now, did you mean to send $2 or was that a complete accident? They punished you. Who punished you? What do you mean they punished you? The crown thing punished you? Y'all, YouTube's doing different stuff. I don't know what the crowns are for, and it told me that I needed to set a goal, and I don't even know where the goal is. Do y'all see a goal? Okay. Mary took your crown? What are y'all talking about? I need y'all to be talking like on here with me because I'm trying to figure out. But what does the crown do? You don't have to pay for the crown, right? You just get the crown. Chris thought the crown shows up when you're the first one here. Jane, can I can I tell them your funny story about your cat? Speaking of super chats, may I have Jane? May I please tell them your story? Lisa took it from me. Y'all are confusing me. If you click on the crown, see, I'm on here trying to figure out what's going on. All right, hang on. If I click on somebody's crown, don't you hate when they do new things and we don't understand them? How do you take their crown away? Wait. So Teresa's number one. I don't understand. We gonna have to talk about it. I don't understand. I mean, I'm looking at this. I don't know. Okay. I'm taking my glasses off. Wait, what is this? Thank you, Kathy. It told me that I had to set a goal. And so I just said I'll go live in my farm this afternoon if so many people do the live chat. I mean, this whatever it's called, not Snapchat, super thanks, whatever it's called. And so I don't know what happens when I reach my goal. If you're on Facebook, you're probably really confused, but I don't even see, does Facebook here? I don't see anybody from Facebook. No one from Facebook is on here. I don't see one person. Thank you, Heidi. I wonder what happens when I reach my. It said I had 30 minutes to reach my goal. Oh, I see Facebook. Okay. Okay. Good morning. I didn't know what was going on. I'm going to get ready this morning. So I have like a couple of things. I'm conflicted on what I want to talk about this morning, because what I was going to talk about, it's like something else. I woke up this morning and I was in another place. You know what I mean? Like I wake up train wreck. You see how I'm balding right here? Okay, let me think for just a minute. I'm sorry, I'm stuttering, but I need to think for just a minute what I want to talk about. Okay, I guess I'm just going to go with what I was talking about. I know I'm confusing y'all to death. All right. So I had counseling this week, and I have really struggled. Listen, I have to go to counseling to be married to Shane, okay? And I'm sure, I don't know how he gets through life without not going to counseling, being married to me, okay? You know how, like, it's a give and take when you're married. You know what I mean? Like you start getting on each other's nerves when you live together, and it's like when you date, you're like all in love and you can't wait to see them. And then it's like when you get married, it's like everything that's bad about them electrifies. You know what I'm talking about? Like it just electrifies. And Shane and I never, I mean, we never lived together, right? I mean, some people, live together before they get married, and they kind of know each other. They know what they're getting themselves into when they get married. Oh, wait, hang on. I forgot I said I would go live on TikTok. And so, y'all give me just a minute. Okay. So anyway, you don't really know a person until you live with them. You know what I'm saying? You don't. And then you get married to them, and my phone's not working. You get married to them, and it's like, I didn't sign up for that crap. You know what I'm saying? Like he didn't act like that when we were dating. It's just. I know that if you're married, you know what I'm talking about. It's just like, it's like you learn all their little quirky ways. You know, you just really don't know a person until you live with them. And I don't know why I keep leaning to go to the second thing I was talking about, but what I'm talking about goes for both situations that I want to talk about, because you know what? I'll just combine it. Sorry. I know I'm confusing y'all. But when you actually move in with somebody is the moment the real world starts, right? I mean, when you're dating, you're in fantasy land, right? You're in love. You get all giddy feeling, and then you go through these stages of, you get engaged in the rush excitement of planning a wedding, and then you have a baby, and oh, everything's just great. You got the white picket fence around your yard. Everything's just wonderful. And then reality just sets in of what it's like to live with someone. And when it comes to Larry, if you don't know, if you're watching me for the first time, my stepdad lives with me. His name is Larry, and he moved in with me 8 years ago this past April. I didn't know him. I've never lived with him. I didn't know his quirky ways, really. I mean, I talked to him on the phone some, but I didn't really know him. Shane and I dated for 2 years before we got married. I didn't really know him until I moved in with him. And I for the past, we've been married 8 years this month. And in counseling, I'm like, he is so weird. So, and we would like in counseling this week, I've been dealing with how to be the best version of myself during Shane's anger attacks. Okay. Shane has outbursts of, of anger that I don't understand. I'm not really an angry person. As a matter of fact, I'm usually the type of person that avoids conflict. That's how I am. I don't like to fight with people. I'll just avoid it. I'll just quit talking or I'll just walk away or I go into this shell. I don't usually like to tell people how I feel because I feel like it's just me. And so I'm not really an angry person. So when I moved in with Shane and got married, I didn't really understand like a lot. I mean, like simple task. I just didn't understand. And I would find myself, it would rob me, his little outburst would rob me of my joy because I would either go into a shell and sit there and wonder what I had done wrong, or I would cry and get my feelings hurt, or I would have an outburst. Like he would push me to the point where I would have an outburst. And so I started going to counseling or started dealing with counseling on help me be the best version of myself during these outbursts because it can be like his Shane is a very hard person. He's not a softie, really. I mean, he is in certain ways, but I just like I can't like I take it personal what he says and I keep it keeps robbing me of my joy. And I don't know how to separate when he has these outbursts. I don't know how to separate myself and not take it personal. I know that it's not me because I see it happen, but like I would get frustrated. You know how like your spouse, like let's say they're at work. Okay. Let's say they have outburst of anger at home. Okay. And you're like, it's so crazy. When he gets around his friends, he don't have an outburst. And I'm the one he's supposed to be in love with, and he flips his lid on me. Like I don't feel loved. I don't feel like something's not right. Like something is not clicking, and I can't get past it. And I need to learn how to not let it rob me of my joy when he says these things and has these outbursts because I look at him with his best friend and he's so nice, he's funny, and then he gets home to me and he's a train wreck. And I'm like, I don't understand. Like, I'm supposed to be his best friend. Like, I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. And if you were to say to him, why do you flip your lid? He would blame it on me. It's because you don't listen to me. You don't listen, Judy. And it's almost like, so this is all my fault. Like I caused you to have all these outbursts. Yeah. Sure do. And I'm thinking, what do I need to go to counseling to learn how to not trigger him? Like, what the heck? Why is it my fault? What am I doing? What am I not You don't listen. You don't listen to a darn thing I say. You don't. And I went to counseling this week, and over the past, I'm going to say year, I have been trying to learn how to not consume myself with his outburst. because I don't know what it's all about. And so she told me, she was like, when he has those, I want you to get so okay with yourself that when he has them, it's almost like you're watching a sitcom. Because the thing is with Shane is he has these outbursts, and within 5 seconds, okay, not 5 seconds, I'm going to say 1 minute. He says what he's got to say, and then he's like back to normal. And I'm just like, and I can't shift that fast. Like, you've said something ugly, I'm still mad about it. Like, I go to bed mad about it. And he's like, says what he's got to say, and then within minutes, he's like back to Shane. I can't deal with this. Like, I don't understand. Like, it sends me on a roller coaster, okay? It sends me on this roller coaster. And I was sitting there talking to my counselor this week, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And this is what she's telling me. In DBT, which is, the program that I went through, there's a section called distress tolerance. And she was like, Judy, do you know what do you understand what distress tolerance means? I'm like, I guess I don't. And she was like, distress, you're in distress. So you're stressed out, you have anxiety, your mind is racing, you're in distress. And we've got to get you to tolerance, where you tolerate it. I was like, okay, that makes sense to me. And so in the module, it tells you for distress tolerance, there's steps that you do. They seem so stupid to me. Okay? The steps that you have to do is put a cold pack on your face. Okay, and I'm saying this to my counselor because the steps that distress tolerance wants you to do seem silly to me, and I'm not doing it. Okay? So she said, when you start feeling like this, when he says these outbursts, I need you to go put a cold pack on your head. And I'm like, let me say this back to you. Okay. Shane has outburst. Excuse me, Shane. I need to remove myself from this conversation because I need to go to the freezer to get an ice pack to put it on my forehead because you're sending me to outer space. Does that not seem like I look like the crazy person? If I literally remove myself from a conversation and go, I need to go get an ice pack. I'm not doing that. And I've even tried it. Like I went and bought some ice packs, and I went and bought some ice packs, and I was like, okay, I've got to force myself to put an ice pack on my head. I can't do it. It makes me feel crazy. I don't know why. I mean, maybe that seems silly to you, but putting an ice pack, and she's like, okay, well, let's talk about the other things that you can do besides putting an ice pack on your head. She said, you can go get your heart rate, like spike your heart rate. So let's just stop for just a minute. Shane has an outburst. I look at him and go, can you give me 5 seconds while I sprint to one side of the yard and back? He would look at me like I had 4 horns on my head because apparently changing your heart rate, like sprinting, like like makes your mind not go into like a panic or anxiety. So can you see me doing that? I look like the crazy person. Now, instead of Shane having issues, it's going to be me that has issues. Excuse me. Let me give you a choice. You just had an outburst. I either need to put an ice pack on my head or I need to sprint to the other side of the room. I can't, I can't do it. I can't. I just can't. I can't. So the other thing that you can do for distress tolerance is change your body temperature. Okay, which is the ice pack. She was like, Judy, you can go get in the shower. Shane, you just went to crazy land on me. So in order for me to not to take this personal, either I got to put an ice pack on my head, I have to sprint to the other side of the room, or I need to go take a cold shower. So could you give me just a minute to excuse myself while I go deal with your bull crap? You know what I'm saying? And I told her, I'm like, I just don't feel comfortable. Like I can't. I'm sorry. I'm sure that module is good for other people, but I just do not feel like distress tolerance like guidelines work for me. I'm just not that person that's going to go get in the shower in the middle of the day because my husband had an outburst, because he's over it in 2 minutes. Like he does it and then he's over it and he's normal. So like I just have to sit there and take it like a man. Okay, here he's going. He's fixing to go to outer space. He's fixing to go to outer space. I just, Marsha Linehan is the one who wrote DBT. And Marsha Linehan, if you're watching this live, which I'm sure you're not, but distress tolerance does not work for me. Maybe it works for the other people that read your book, but it doesn't work for me. It embarrasses me. It embarrasses me that I would have to go put an ice pack on my head. And like she was telling me, like sometimes at night, usually in the mornings at night is when I struggle the worst. Okay. I don't know. I go to bed worrying about something, like whether it be money or one of my animals is sick or something I did. Like I sit and worry about it. And then I find myself, the worry robs myself of sleep. And she said, Judy, when you're in the bed and your mind is spinning out of control, go to the freaking freezer and get the ice pack. And I said, listen, Doc, because usually I live in silence. Half the time, Shane has no idea what's wrong with me. Okay. He don't pay enough attention to notice. If I'm not bawling my eyes out or if I'm not in the bed, he don't know anything's wrong with me because I don't usually tell him. Because if I told him, hey, I'm sitting here worrying about, I don't know, let's just say money. Shane, Judy, that is the stupidest thing. We're not broke. You're not going homeless. So like, why are you sitting? Just stop. Just stop. That's what he does. He doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. Okay. And so she's like, I need you to go put an ice pack on your head. And I'm like, let me say this back to you. Me and Shane are in the bed. He's scrolling through TikTok. He has no idea that my mind is spinning out of control. And then I get up, walk to the freezer and get an ice pack. And I lay down in the bed and put an ice pack on my head. And he's going to look at me and go, why do you have an ice pack on your head? Do you have a headache? No. Why do you have this ice pack on your head? You freakazoid. Because I'm sitting here worrying. Okay? It's something that you don't understand because you don't worry. Because you're perfect. You know? And then it's like, it just embarrasses me. And you would think that I would not be embarrassed about the fact that my brain is out of control, but it embarrasses me to go get an ice pack and put it on my head in front of anyone. Maybe if I was by myself, maybe I wouldn't struggle so much with putting an ice pack on my head or sprinting in the front yard or taking a cold shower or something like that. But like, it just embarrasses me. It's like you have mental health problems all over your forehead because you need an ice pack. So I told her, I said, it doesn't work for me. I'm sorry, but Marcia needs to write, Marcia Linehan needs to write another module for people like me, because I guarantee you, if I sat down, majority of the mental health patients, they're going to say the stress to tolerance does not work for me either. So I said, can we think of something else to do so I don't take things personally and I don't get in left field? So she was sitting there, my eyes are watering. She said, explain to me what happens. I said, okay, I'm just going to think of one situation that I can think about. She was like, okay, tell me about it. Last year, Shane complains all the time about, I'm going to say a bad word. No, I'm not going to say a bad word. Shane says, I can't get my done because I'm too busy doing your He says that a lot. Okay. Well, when the whole peacock thing came about, it was hunting season. Okay. So I knew he was not going to help me because hunting is the god of the god. Like, we take hunting serious. Like, that's his time. He's leaving. Don't care what's going on. He's gone. Okay. That's just who he is. I married him that way. I knew it before I married him. Okay. So, like, it is what it is. So the peacock situation came where my neighbors were threatening to kill my peacocks and I was in a panic mode. So I ordered that pen because I knew I could put that together. So I ordered it, I put it up, and I put my peacocks in it, okay? Because I knew that I had to get through hunting season. So I then called, I was thinking in my head, and I was repeating to myself, I can't get my done because I'm too busy doing your So I thought in my head, okay, I'm going to hire someone. I'm just going to take some of this money from Sneed's farmhouse and I'm going to hire someone to build me a peacock enclosure. So I had the girl that builds my coops to come out there and I said, listen, this is what I'm thinking. I want to build a tower for the peacock because peacocks like to get up. So her and her husband come out there and we began to discuss how to build the peacock enclosure, how much it's going to cost, blah, blah, blah. Everything's good. Hang on. So we discussed it. They go back home and they try to figure out what they're going to do to build it and all that stuff. They come back. The second time they came back to discuss what we were going to do, Shane was here. So then Shane starts giving his input. Well, when he starts giving his input, it intimidates the people that I hired because they're like, I don't think your husband wants to do it the way you're wanting to do it. And I'm like, I'm the one paying you. Don't listen to him. I'm paying you. And they're like, I don't think your husband wants to do it that way. I don't give two craps. This is my peacocks, my enclosure. He's hunting. I'm paying you to come build my peacock enclosure because he can't get his done because he's too busy doing my Okay. So I'm hiring you to do the peacock enclosure. To make a long story short, Shane was like, Judy, there is no sense in us spending money on someone else building a peacock enclosure when I can do it. I know, but I need it now. And you're hunting, and I need the peacock enclosure now. They're in this coop with no shelter, and I'm not feeling all warm and fuzzy inside, right? Judy, you are rushing things. And I have to sit still because he doesn't want me to hire anybody. He can't do the peacock enclosure, so they stay in this temporary enclosure all winter long, and I'm dying inside. These are my babies. I'm scared. Like when the tornadoes come, I'm freaking out because I know that shelter is not in the ground and it's going to lift up, and I'm freaking out. And I have to sit quiet. And y'all know where that story went. My peacock got killed and my pheasants got killed from a temporary enclosure. But that's my fault. Let me tell you why it's my fault. Because I didn't even have the pheasants when I bought the enclosure. So I should have waited to buy the pheasants until the peacock enclosure went up. But I didn't. I got, I don't know, trigger happy, I guess. I shouldn't have done that, but I did. So hunting season's over, and I'm like, oh, I finally get my peacock enclosure. So he's out there and he's doing it all by himself, right? And he's griping, Knowles. I have to do everything by myself. I can't get my crap done because I'm doing your crap. I have a lean-to that I need to do on my shop, but I can't do the lean-to because I'm too busy doing your crap. And I'm over here going, I hired someone. I hired someone to do this. But you basically fired them and said you're going to do it yourself. So, like, what am I supposed to do? And so he would have these little outbursts when he would get frustrated. So instead, and I said this to my counselor, and I said this to you last week. I said, if I was a blind person and I couldn't physically see what Shane was doing for my peacocks, I would hate his guts because he is griping the whole entire time. I would think that he doesn't love me. I would think that I was having to force him to do something that he didn't want to do. If I just sat and listened to him and didn't physically see him, I would need cold packs for my head and a sprint in the front yard and a cold shower all at once. If I could just listen to him and not see him. But praise God that God gives me eyes because I can physically see him building this peacock enclosure. I see him on the roof putting the tin up. I see him measure. I see him bring the welding stuff out there. I see him go buy that little airsoft gun to put the staples in for the hardware cloth. I see him digging the trenches to put the tin deep in the ground so predators can't get in. But if I was a non-seeing person just listening, I would probably run like Forrest Gump. Okay? I would probably go, I can't do this anymore. I literally can't. Because his words are not nice, not meaningful. Like it's hard to look at the peacock enclosure and go, he did that just for me. Because as a hearing person, I heard griping the whole time. As a seeing person, I'm like, that dude loves me. God, that dude is like, he loves me. He would go to the end of the world for me as a seeing person. But as a hearing person, I want to run like Forrest Gump. And I told her that. And I said, it makes me crazy. It makes me crazy listening to him. I don't understand. He's a straight up weirdo. I don't understand him. And she said something to me after years of me going to therapy to try to deal with this. She said something this week that clicked. She said, okay, what you're telling me is he starts out as a villain. He's mean. He seems rude. He seems like he's not a team player, like when he talks. I said, yes. She goes, tell me about the ending. She goes, that's the beginning of the book. The beginning of the book, he's going to be a villain. He's going to say awful things. But tell me about the end of the book. I was like, he never lets me down. She goes, tell me the difference in Shane and your ex-husband. I said, he always follows through. I said, it's like at the end of the story, it's like a love story. I said, because like he built this beautiful peacock enclosure. The peacocks have tons of room. It's high. They can have babies in there and be safe. And she's like, so the end of the book is really a fairy tale. Because you have what most women don't have. You have this talented husband that can do anything. I said, yes. I said, but it's like I have to go through hell to get there. And so she was talking to me about it. And she was like, okay, what I want you to do is I want you to view Shane as a short storybook. And you read the same story over and over and over. So instead of going to put an ice pack on your head or running a sprint or going to jump in the shower because that embarrasses you, she goes, I want you to think of Shane as a storybook. And you have read this story over and over and over. You've read the story over and over and over. And you know at the end of this book, the villain turns into a Prince Charming. I said, yes. He's never let me down. Never. She said, okay. So when the outburst starts, it's the beginning of the book. Is this bad person? Okay. Is this really bad person? But the good thing about your book is it's a short story. It's not a long story. It's a short story. And what she's meaning is that Shane has this outburst and it doesn't last very long. I mean, he literally has the outburst, and within 2 minutes, he's back to normal. Okay? So so I don't have a long storybook. I have a short storybook, which is really good, right? Because if it was long, I don't know if I could deal with it. You know, let's just say that you're married and your marriage was like Shane. Okay. Outbursts of anger, griping about everything, blah, blah, blah. And then one day he's no longer here. He's passed away or she's passed away. And your love story ended without the person being around. Like you couldn't see the big picture because you were in the middle of a marriage that was driving you crazy because they did repetitive things over and over and over, or they got on your nerves nonstop because they wouldn't get out of your face, or they had outbursts of anger, or if he does that one more time, I'm going to scream. I'm going to run like Forrest Gump. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, every marriage goes through this. It's not like it's just me and Shane. No, this is called marriage. This is called learning to live together. And it sometimes it just gets to you. I don't care if you've been married 50 years. They still get on your nerves because they do a certain thing. But when everything's said and done, you're like, if I had to do that over again, I wouldn't change a thing. Because you realize when they're no longer here, it's like he drove me crazy and you're laughing about it. That man drove me absolutely crazy, but I loved him with all my heart because he never left me. We were married 65 years and we went through it thick and thin. But see, you receive your blessings when the person's not here. And it's almost like you get robbed of telling the person because you're stuck in, he has these outbursts and they drive me crazy. He gripes the whole time he's doing it. But see, when you're the best version of yourself is when you can step back and go, I need to see the big picture because right now all I can do is hear, bah, 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 bah. And she was like, okay, this is what I want you to do. She goes, if you try to get a dog to stop barking, like say that they're in the house and they're barking and you're like, what are you barking at? The leaf falling from the tree? Like there's nothing outside and you're trying to get the dog to stop barking and he won't stop. The dog will not stop barking. She said, when Shane starts the little outburst, I want you to think about a dog barking. Bark, 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 bark. Bark, bark, bark. And she was like, just start saying it to yourself. So he's out there doing the peacock enclosure and he's griping. I want you to say bark, 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 bark. Just go around. And you don't have to say it out loud because then you're going to piss him off. Just say to yourself, bark, 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 bark. You know what I'm saying? It'll kind of make you laugh. And the reason is because the outburst is short-lived. And when I finish reading the short story, I'm going to see that this story is about love. But see, what I was getting focused on was the bark bark. And I was taking the bark bark literal, even though it's just who Shane is. It's not like where I was feeling like he didn't love me. I was like, no one in their right mind talks to someone that they are in love with the way that Joker talks? There's no way he loves me. There's no way. That's what I was doing. I'm like, and I would go, I freaking live in hell. I live in hell. And it was robbing me of my joy. And it wasn't really about me. But I was taking it personal. And I think in my head, if I concentrated on the bark, I would have never gotten probably to the end of the short story because I would have been stuck in the bark doesn't sound fun to me. And I would just walk away. How do we get past the bark? If you don't want to put a cold pack on your head and you don't want to go sprint in your front yard and um you don't want to take a cold shower, what do? How do you get the bark to stop? Because I guarantee you, if we were all on a Zoom call together and I'm like, okay, Chris, tell me about your bark. Okay, I can't, is that Eliza? Alyssa, tell me about your bark. I guarantee you, every one of us could tell about our spouse's bark that straight up gets on our nerves and we have to go to counseling for. Because there's a bark. And I bet if Shane Sneed was sitting next to me, I would say, tell me about your bark. Oh, he'd probably have a good story to tell us about my bark. Because I have a bark too. It's not like I'm perfect. It's not, but see, the difference in me and Shane is he can listen to my bark and he don't think I hate him. Where I listen to his bark and I think he hates my guts. Because girls are made differently from boys. We are. We're more tender-hearted. We're more sentimental. We want the, oh my gosh, Judy, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. If I'm waiting on those words, I'm in trouble. I'm setting myself up for failure because Shane Sneed is not the type of man that's going to come home with flowers and go, you know what? I realized today that I'm the luckiest man in the whole wide world. That ain't happening. That is not happening. Shane is not a Shane is not bringing home the flowers and candy. Okay. He's not. He's not. But see, I had to learn how to put on glasses, a thick pair of glasses, to see how Shane really is. Because if I sat down, if I had 10 women in a circle and I'm like, let me tell you, girl, never been on a honeymoon, do not have a wedding ring, never have received flowers, never have received anything on Valentine's Day. If I set 10 women down, they're like, girl, why you stay with him? You need to run. You're worth more than that. That's what women would say. But see, when you're the best version of yourself, you learn how to see how your husband really is. Because again, if I was a blind person and just listened to him, I would think my marriage sucked. But see, God gives me eyes and he gives me a brain. And I can see past the blah, blah, barking. But see, I couldn't get past it. I'm not perfect, right? I can't get past the bark because the bark is loud and ugly. Okay. And it was hard for me to get past the bark. But once she talked to me about it being a short story book, I realized that the ending is always the most wonderful thing that I've ever seen in my life. And when I get to the ending of the book, I'm like, this man gives me everything I want. This man works 7 days a week to provide for us so we don't struggle. This man went to my son's house and fixed his fence. This man went to my son's house and cleared his property. This man, you know what I'm saying? I had to put on a thick pair of glasses because I couldn't get past the bark. But once I got past the bark, I realized that the ending was a love story. And I guarantee you, if you sit and put on your thick glasses, I bet you your ending is a love story too. But right now you're caught up just like me in the bark. And you're like, that son of a gun gets on my nerves. If I have to see his face one more time. Because you get stuck listening to the bark. But believe it or not, if you look at your ending and think about the person no longer being on this earth, I bet there's a bunch of things you're going to miss. So, to me, sitting it out is being like your Aunt Judy getting stuck in the bark. Dancing is seeing the bigger picture. You may have to put on glasses this thick. You know, those Coke bottle glasses to be able to see the ending of your book. Yours may be a long book. It may be a short book like mine. Mine are always short stories. He starts out as this really bad person. But the ending is amazing. So what are you going to do today? Do you have a barker? I bet Shane Sneed is not the only barker. I bet he's not. Don't get stuck in the bark. Counseling saves my life because, you know, and I'm very honest with myself. Like sometimes she gives me solutions that I'm like, I can't do that. I'm not putting an ice pack on my head. I'm not. I don't care if there's been studies that this works. It does not work for me because we're all different. An ice pack might work for you or a sprint in the front yard. But if I sprint in the front yard, I'm going to tear my meniscus. Okay? Like I can't do that. So you have to figure out your body, yourself. This is what bugs me about my spouse. And it's making me sit it out because I literally can't stand him. Get in line, girl. You're not the only one. We're all in the same boat, okay? Every one of us have a story. But when you look at the big picture and you think about your spouse sticking with you through thick and thin, and think about long term, think about the end of the book. Think about the end. Is yours a short story or is it a long story? I have a bunch of short stories. You may have one long story, but what does the ending look like? That's what I call dance. I will see y'all Wednesday. Bye.